moment. Do you know that, or do you want to know how that he accepted the question? I'm trying to know if that answer was more connected, honest than a simple yeah, yes. Doga's anger, the softness, but did not despair. Trying has not to be stronger than your fear. Yaman noted once. I know the silence after that was no empathy, it was a repair. The small but real Doga picked up a crate and handed it to him. Then help me finish them. This before he forgave you too easily. He took the crate. You forgave that condition. Now I am learning for nature. She said everything as a price. He took the crate. You forgive with condition now. I am learning for nature. She said everything has a price. She looked at her and almost smiled again. The land offered first, then I ignored a new alliance. Doga used her knowledge for business network to trace how was behind the possible Yemen, used him local contact to learn with nearby land and had already been purchased. Together they discovered then the offer was part of a large plan. Served properties around the area were being targeted if enough. Honor argument the farm had become stronger, but the development, even if Yemen refused to sell his land, could lose the peace and nature balance they made it valuable. The treatment changed everything. The story was no longer only about personal healing, it became a fight for place, memory, and values. The farm respected from their yamas reservables and respected a way of living that was becoming rare. It respected soil instead of construct patience instead of a greedy work instead of an image for Doga. Defining the form become a way to define the new self she was building. If the form was disordered, part of her change would be destroyed. With it, Yemen and Doga began playing late into the night. They needed public support, strong, barely contracts, legal evidence, and proof that the farm had an environmental and community value. Doga suggests using the attention from the open day to create a wider companion. Yama had the word companions. She said he could hear the word after saving his land heroes. He became the back they worked during those nights. Their closeness became hard to head. They stayed across from each other at old Vocate's table covered with papers, maps, invoices, and teas, classes. Sometimes they fought hours staggered, sometimes they become tired and quiet, sometimes Doga fell asleep over the document and Yaman placed a blanket over the shoulder without waking her. Something Yaman rubber his injured the leg when the truth one say and Doga quietly moved his chair closer to the hurted. Neither mentioned this small act. Their care life better in silence. One night while looking George and other land recording. Look other found the up photo tucked inside a folder. It showed Yaman a year earlier before. Accident had fully changed his life. He looked younger, hopeful and serious. His eyes were the same but less gadgets. Look Doga held the photo gently. Yama say it and look it from her hand too quickly. Do not look at that, she said. She spoke softly. She looked happened. I was flushy. No, she said. You were hope. You looked down at photo from a moment she smiled. Forever hope make the fall worse. Doga stepped closer, maybe, but without hope you never climb again. Yama looked at her, and this time there was no anger in this eye, only excuse. I did not know how to become, but may anyone. You do not have to be him, she said. You only have to spot punishment. He's being hurt. The word touched something deep. Yaman's head tightened around the photos. He looked like a man standing at the edge of a place he had avoided for years. Doga did not move closer. She knew it was not a movement to take, it was a movement to respect. Then Yama did not something and had accepted. She handed the photo back to her. Keep it in the folder, he said. It was a small act of trust. Doga understood. She placed the photo back carefully as if returning something scary. As her fight to protect a farm rumored become more directly, he warned Doga that Yaman would not only use her until the danger passes. She said people like Yaman never truly forgive. She said Doga was confusing guilt with purpose. But this time Doga did not observe his word the same way. She asked her plainly if he had any connection to the land offered. Mer smiled and avoided the question. That evidence answered enough. For first time, Doga saw Mer clearly, not as a monster, not as a cartoon villain, but as a man who believed everything could be managed. Softness, both or are redacted. He did not understand love that required change. He did not understand land that could not be priced. He did not understand greed that became possibility to Doga. Them time at a farm was a faces to her. It was becoming a turning point. She loved him not a come to farm again unless he came without truth. Matter faced harder. You think Yama will choose you when this is over? Doga held in gas. Be may he will not, but at least beside him I am learning to choose myself. The sentence marked that the end of matter is you unless over her about ending do not always end quietly. Met life with wanting pride and would not pride in dangers when mixed with ambition. Soon after, rumors began strapping online. Some posts accused the farm of poor hygiene. Others questioned whether the organic label was honest. A few judgment the open day had been only a rich girl publicity game. The work her false, but the false word can travel fast. Order began to hesitate. One barely asked for extra expression and other delay payment. Yama was furious. Toga was shaking but focused. She knew the style of the attack. She was not random. Someone wanted to danger, damage trust. Someone wanted the farm weaker before making another offer. She blamed Matter, but proof was still missing. Yaman wanted to confirm him directly. Doga stopped him. She said anger would give their enemy. The image he wanted Yaman was unstable. The farm and caustic. They need proof, not range. Yaman hated that she was right. Together they rather record, invite an evident inspection connected visitors from the open day deposit. Clear videos showing the farm's processes. Doga appeared in one of a video, not polished, not overly sturdily but honest. She explained the farm was not perfect because no real work was perfect, but it was clean, careful, and open to question. She gave credit to work and to warmth. She did not make herself the hero. People responded will become truth when spoken smile has its own strength. The attack did not destroy the farm. In fact, it brought more support. Locals defend Yama. Visitors shared their positive experience. Small business spoke publicly about the quality of produce. The lies lost power because the farm had built real trust. Doga's idea of visibility saved them again, but Yama's instincts of real quality made the defense possible. Leonardo could not have done alone. After the crisis, Iris, Yaman, and Doga found themselves alone near the old olive trees. The day had been long, and both were tried in a deep way. That comes after fear passes. Doga leaned against the tree trunk and closed that eye. Yaman stopped beside her, looking at the land. We make a good theme. She said quietly. She did not answer at once. Then he said something. She opened one eye. That it almost romantic from you. He looked at her. Do not get used to it. She smiled too late. The smile faded slowly as their eyes chatted to each other. The air changed this time. There was no working calling from across the yard, no delivery problem, no sudden enters, only the trees, the evening, and two people who had spending too long fighting their peace felt more dangerous than the war. Yama stopped. The closer Doga did not move away. His face showed conflict, tendency after the loading at all the once. He lifted his hand as if to touch her face, then stopped before reaching her. That hesitance was Yaman whole heart in a movement. He wanted to cross the distance, but the path stood between them. Dog understand she did not force him. Instead he whispered, I am not asking for you forget. His voice was low, then was the you asking you to see me. Now that sentence broken with sometimes quiet, instead him not completely not forgive but enough. He touched her face gently as if afraid she would vanish or as if aware she would. Doga's eyes filled not with guilt this time but with the fear of being seen and still possibility reject. Yams leaned closer. For a second the word became very still, then he pulled back. The pain in Doga's face was immediate, but she tried to hide it. Yaman looked at as if hated himself. It cannot, he said. She nodded slowly because of past. Because when I am near you, I forget you. Angry, I am stop you. Doga breathed caught. Yaman continued, and then I remember everything again. She looked down. That was honest, but honestly can still hurt. It cannot fight a memory forever. I know, he said, and I cannot be someone else every day just to prove I am not a girl. From the day I know he respected Doga, respected the bag. Then maybe you not, we may need to decide whether you want the truth or a wound. She walked away before the cloud answered. The Yaman staying understanding the olive trees, alone with the sentence, the truth or wounded. He also never the threw out of it that way. He had believed the wound was the truth, but maybe his wonder was only one part of it. Maybe truth was larger. Truth included the girl who hurt him, eyes, yes, but it was also included the woman who started, the woman who worked, the woman who defined the farms, the woman who remembered late, but it did not run. If he chose only the wonder, he would lose the rest. The third part of the story ended with Yaman standing between two variants of life. One is the life he knew, anger, work, control, lonely, safely without softness. The other is uncertainty, forgiveness, risk, love, and the possibility of being hurt again. Dog also stand between two lives. One is the old lord of comfort, whether met and Paris and her father's projection still wait like open door. The other is harder, staying, growing, accepting guilt, and loving a man who may never fully forgive her. A farm standing between the further two, I can remain a living place of soil and honestly, or it can be shoveled by men who see land only as profit. The fight for the farm is now tied to fight inside the Yaman and Doga. If they cannot trust each other, the farm becomes weather. If they stand together, they may still lose, but they will lose as a people that you used to be. Nature cheats slowly. A seed does not become a tree because someone is sorry. A broken branches does not heal because someone wishes I held grow need. Time, care, weather, and patience. Yaman and Dogar are only at the beginning of that process. That they have admitted pain, but they have not heard it. They have built truth, but it is still freely. They have felt love, but fear has not allowed it to breathe freely. Still, something has changed forever. Doga is no longer a stranger to Yama pain. Yaman is no longer blind to Doga's change. The past has finally started speaking, and once truth begins to speak, silence cannot become comfort again. The law of nature is still working. What was bird is rising, what was false is cracking, what was wanted is asking whether it want to say, want it forever and understand the all, olive tree, the aura where roots go deep and when move slowly to broad, hurt and stand close enough to touch, but still afraid of what touching will mean. After the night under the olive trees, the farm did not feel the same. Nothing was visible. The can had changed. The same path crossed the same field. The same old trees stood like quiet whiteness. The same darkness opened the day with tired faces and strong hands. The same animals demanded food without crying about human confusion, but Yuriyama and Doga were every corner of the farm now cried a memory. The palace where Bill had almost touched had become impossible to pass without silence. The place where she had asked him to see her now become a question neither of them could answer. They had land continued its work, but the heart living on it had entered a new season. Doga tried to attack normal. She woke early, dried her hair, took her gloves, and moved into the morning routine without the discipline she had slowly learned. The checked order, the helped, clearly prayed, and spoke to walk with more patience than before. From the outside she looked stronger, but inside she felt divided. One part of her wanted to run to Yemen and demand a clear answer. Another part knew she had no right to force him into healing. She had caused pain once by being careless. She did not want to cause pain again to begin. Yemen also tried to act normal, but normal had become difficult. His eye found Doga even when he told himself not to look. He noticed when she was tried. He noticed was she loud with others but not with him. She noticed when she avoided standing too close. He noticed that small wall she had built after the step back for her. That wall hurt with him more than they accepted. He had spent weeks telling himself he wanted distance, but when Doga gave him distance, it felt like punishment. It was the cruel joke of pride. Yaman had pushed her away to protect himself. He suffered because she respected the boundary. He wanted her near but did not know how to invite the without admitting need. He wanted to trust her but trusting between meant open the door to a room he had locked for air. He wanted to forgive, but forgiveness felt like loosely the only weapon he still held against the past. If he let go of anger, what would remain? A broken dream, a younger version of himself how never returned. I love that came late. Doga say he struggled, but he did not scare him. This was one of the clearly signs that he had changed. The old Doga would have made a scene. She would have forced attention. She would have turned pain into drama so no one could ignore her. The new Doga showed her heart and worked, not because she felt nothing, but because she understands that love was not only about wanting. Sometimes love meant leaving space for other person to breathe. Still, space did not mean peace. Their conversion becomes strongest. Their eyes held more than their word when they needed to discussion a farm business. They were staying purely when a person's subject came closer. One of them moved away the work sentence the tension and spoke carefully around them. Even came help usually joked at the wrong time understand that his silence was not ordinary. It was the silence of two people standing on opposite side of the bridge, about afraid to step first. The threat to the farm grew stronger. During this friendly time, Mud had failed to weaken Doga trust easily, and his attempt at damage her first reputation had not succeeded. But people like Mud did not stop because one plane failed that only changed the shape of the plane. Soon officially later began to arrive small compliment about land, usually questions about permits, a notice about road access, a warning connected to water rights. None of this problem alone clouding destroy the farm, but together they create pressure. It was clearly that someone wanted to excuse Yama until selling looked easier than fighting. Yemen understand the method. It was not open war, it was slowing pressure. A rich enemy did not always need to attack directly. He could make phone calls, speak to right office daily. April will create confidence and turn normal work into a legal maze from a small firm already struggling with money and times. This kind of pressure could be deadly. Every horse pen to paper was an hour stolen from the land. Every visit to the office meant work delay. Every uncourteous document gave Berry a reason to assist. Doga became anger in a way Yaman had not seen before. Her anger was noticed loud, spoiled anger from her first day on the farm. This was cloudy, sharper, and more focused. She recognized the language of power. Because she had grown up around it, she has knew on people, high trust inside the political letters. She knew how businessmen smiled will discover someone's life. She had once belonged to that word without questioning it. Now she say it ugly letters clearly, and it made her Agnes. She took the letter and studied them late into a night. Yaman wanted to handle everything himself, but Doga refused to step back. He could that her too it was not her fight. She answered that the farm had become her fight the day she stopped trying it like punishment. He said she did not know how ugly these battles could become. She said she knew more than they thought. Who quietly she added them become it was time. She said what her old word taught her for timing better than herself. The sentence staying with Yemen Doga's Bravely had once been a wall between them. Now she is trying to turn it into a tool. She called lower forever company contacts local officials and people who understood environmental regulation. She did not use the father's names carelessly, but she did not pretend she had no access either. This was part for their growing. She no longer attacked as if bravery was naturally. She knew it was power, and power had to be used with responsibility. Yemen watched her work and felt both graduated and fair. Graduated because she was helping, fair because every good thing she did not miss his old anger weaker. It is easy to reject someone who behave badly. It is much harder to reject someone who stand beside you when standing there constant. Then something Doga could have gone back to Istanbul. She could not have returned to safe rooms, expensive clothes, and people who praised her even when she failed. Instead, she was staying at the farmer table at midnight, reading legal language with tired eyes, trying to protect soil that was not her. One night, Yaman found her asleep over a stack of papers. A pen was still in her hand. Her cheek detected again a page full of notice. The lamp moved. They made her face look peaceful, but he saved exhaustion over the around her eyes. He stood her for a longer time. This was not a Doga from his memory. This was not a woman who had longed as his dreams. This was someone who had walked guilt and not guilt from it. Someone who had begun to love the same land he loved, though she would never love it in exactly the same way. She redacted out and gently looked the pen from her fingers. She tried but did not wake. He placed a blanket over her shoulder, then that across from her for a while. He simply watched for her sleep. In that quiet moment, something inside him became tried for fighting. He was tired to smear her against his past. He was tired to punishment himself by refusing entities connected to her. He was tired to crying anger like a scary duty. But being tried to pain was not the same as knowing now to release it. Doga woke a like letter and saw him sitting there for a few seconds. She did not speak fully and made her honest before pride returned. Were you watching me? Yama looked away. You were rolling on her permanent papers. She said, at quickly at touching her face. I was not. Maybe the paper disabled it. Despite herself, her language softly. The sound entered the room. It had been days since they had chatted. Anything close to warmth, Yama looked at the paper and said she sleep in a real bed. The bed answered that the clothes stopped pending. He did not need help. He said he had survived alone for a year. She replied that surviving alone was not the same as living well. The words were gently, but they struck deep. Yaman did not answer. Doga rejected speaking too directly. Yet she did not take it back. Some truths need to stand even when they make the room uncomfortable. After a long silence, Yaman said, I do not know what you do with you. Doga looked at him. You do not have to go anything with me. That is not what I mean. I know. He rubbed his hand together, searching for the word. When you first came here, everything was clearly. You were the person who hurt me. I was the person who would make you understand what struggle felt like. It was simple. And no, now nothing is simple. Doga eyes softness. Maybe simple was never. Yaman looked at her then. There was an anger in this face. Only really I hated you because it helped me stand. I know if I hating you, I have to look at everything else. Yes, and maybe I did not know how Doga voice becomes very soft. Then did not start with everything. Start with one step. He looked at her as if she had offered him something too frailest to touch. One step Yemen understand land because land also changed one step at a time. You did not turn dry soil rich in one day. You fed it, protected it, waited through season, and trusting that you could not be seen yet maybe healing had the same love. Maybe he did not have to forgive at all once. Maybe he only had to stop choosing Harry every morning. Their eye met across the table. The space between them felt full but not heavy like before. Doga did not ask for a promise. Yama did not offer one, yet something moved between them, small and alive. The next morning brought a new series. A local inspection teams arrived without proper notice. They claimed there had been anonymous complaint about production standards and environmental handling Yama because installing fences surprise inspection were not always wrong, but the timing was suspension. Doga recognized the move. Someone wanted the farm, caught a price the nearest defected. He placed a hand lightly Yama's arms before they could speak too sharply. They looked down at her hand, then at her face. She said quietly, let them see everything. Yaman's first instinct was to resistance. This was his land, his work, his dignity. His hated stranger walks around his clipboard as if they had the right to judgment, years of effort in one afternoon of. But Doga was right. If the farm has not nothing to hide, openness was strong than anger. He nodded once.
In every life, there is no one moment that looks small from the outside but breaks everything from inside. Sometimes it is only one sentence, sometimes it is only one look, Sometimes it is a door closing before a person even get chance to prove himself. For Yemen, that moment came inside a bright, cold building in Istanbul where rich people spoke about to dreams as if dreams were things they could buy. He entered that place with hope in his heart, papers in his hand, and future in his mind. He was not a man who wanted a gift. He wanted a chance, but life does not always test people with storm. Sometimes life tests them with humiliation. Yemen was an idealist that believed in honest work, clean soul, strong hands, and quiet pride. He did not come from world of easy comfort. He know the price of every step because he had paid for every step himself. When he walked into that moment important environment interview, he carried more than his own name. He carried the dreams of his family, the weight of his struggle, and the silent promise he had made to himself. One day, I will stand where no one can look down on me. But before he could show his worth and meet Doha belongs to a completely different world. Her life was not simple. It looked easy from outside, but it was shaped by glass, wall, soft light, and father who loved her so much that he protected her from every hard truth. She had money, name, beauty, and power around her, but she did not yet have maturity. She did not yet to understand what effort means when a person has nothing except hope. She looked at Yemen and saw only what higher would have taught her to see. She saw clothes, status, appearance, and surface. She did not see man. She did not see the pain behind his eyes. She did not see the pride was trying to keep alive. That first meeting became a want. It was not a only field interview. It was a day of Yemen's belief in fairness cracked. When Doha treated him like someone beneath her. The room became smaller, the air became heavier. Yaman tried to remain strong, but some insults do not end with the words stop. They follow a person into the street, they sit beside him in silence, they whisper inside his mind until angry becomes louder than hope. Yaman left that building with his heart burning. He was not simply rejected, he was made to feel invisible. Then fate turned into a cruel, a tragic accident changed the direction of his whole life. In one day, Yaman lost the future he had imagined. Pain entered his body, but anger entered his soul. The accident did not only hurt him physically, it changed way he looked at people. It changed the way he looked at Doha. In his mind, she became the symbol of everything that had gone wrong. She became the face of arguments, privilege, and careless too quickly. Maybe Doha never understood the damage she had caused. Maybe she moved on like people often do when they do not know they have broken someone. But Yemen did not forget. Years passed and time did what it always does. It covered to wants, but it did not always heal them. Yemen rebuilt himself far away from the shine of Istanbul. He found a new path in Urala where the sea was wide, the land was warm, and the wind carried the smell of real life. He no longer wanted to beg for a place in someone else's world. He wanted not to create his own world. He chose Soul insists of marble floor. He chose effort insists of empty status. He chose nature because nature does not care about person's surname. Nature gave back only what a person gives to it. If you plant nothing, you receive nothing. If you work honestly, something grows. This became Yemen's law. In the city, people measured to worth with money, clothes, and family names. On the farm, worth was measured with sweat, patience, and responsibility. They were every morning being to vary before pride woke up. Animals had to be fed, soul had to be cared for, trees had to be protected. Nothing waited for excuse. The farm gave Yemen something the city had taken away from him, control, but even in that a new life, angry, still lived inside him. He could build fence around his land, but he could not build a fence around his memory. Doha, meanwhile, continuously to live like someone chasing happiness without knowing its shape. She had energy, ideas, and confidence, but she also had a talent for turning every opportunity into choice. She wanted to prove herself, but she often ran before learning how to stand. Her father, Halcia, loved her deeply, yet love is made her weak in way he did not see at first. He gave her protection when she needed discipline. He gave her chances when she needed lessons. He gave her comfort when life should have taught her consequence. Doha was not evil. That is why important to understand. She was not a villain who enjoyed hurting people. She was careless, spoiled, proud, and sometimes bold, but inside her there was also warmth. She had a heart that could change. The problem was that no one had forced her to look at herself honestly. No one had made her face the damage caused by her word, her choices, and her easy escape from responsibility. She could fail and still return home. She could make a mistake and still be saved. She could dream about to Paris while the other were still trying to survive the day. Her newest dream was another shiny plan, another new beginning, another chance to become someone important. Paris waited for her like a beautiful picture in her mind. She imagined a verticute success, freedom, style, and a life that finally proved she was more than a rich man's daughter. But before she could escape to that dream, life placed a different rod in front of her. Halsey tried of watching his daughter fall and raise without learning, made a decision that changed everything. If Doha wanted to understand life, she would have to leave the soft world around her. She would have to work, not pretend to work, not manage people from above, truly work. So she was sent to organic farm in Yorala, the same farm where Yaman had to rebuild his life, the same place where his rules mattered more than her name, the same place where the past was waiting quietly like a storm behind a clear sky. When Doha arrived, she did not understand the size of trap fate had prepared for her. To her, the farm looked like punishment. It smelled of soil, animals, sweat, and responsibility. It was not to Paris. It was not a office. It was not a place where people moved aside because of her family name. Here, she could not hide behind expensive confidence. Here, everyone had a job, everyone carried weight, everyone knew that beauty and attitude do not milk cow, repair fences, harvest crop, or a safe business from debt. Yaman saw her and felt the past rise inside him. She did not remember him properly. That was another insult, deeper than the first. He carried the memory of her for years, while for her was almost stranger. The moment that destroyed him had been only a forgettable scene in her life. That realization shaped his angry. How unfair life can be. One person remembers a wound forever, while the person who made it does not even remember the knife. Doha did not understand why Yaman looked at her with such coldness. She was used to people reacting to her beauty, charm, and family power. Yaman reacted to her like she was a people problem he had been forced to handle. Every word between them to carried hidden fire. She thought he was rude and stubborn and unfair. He thought she was arrogant, useless, and protected by money. Both of them was partly right, and both of them were completely wrong. This is where the story began to become more than a simple love story. It is not only about two people fighting and then falling in love. It is about two law meeting. Doha law in comfort, imagine, and escape. Yemen's law is the law of work, pain, and survival. When these two worlds collide, neither person can remain the same. She will have to learn that life does not bend for her. He will have to learn that hatred can become another kind of prison. At first, Yemen does not want to teach Doha. He wants to break her pride. He sees his arrival as chance to balance the past. If she wants her to made feel small in her world now, he will make her to feel powerless in his. He gave her hard task. He speaks to her with sharp calmness. He watches her struggle with farm life, and part of him feels satisfied. To him, every mistake she makes is proof that it was right about her. She is not strong. She is not serious. She is not a spoiled woman dropped into a real life for the first time. But Doha is not as simple as he want to hear to be. She complain. Yes, she get angry. Yes, she makes foolish decision. Yes, but she also refused to disappear. Her pride, the same pride that often make trouble, also gave her strength. But Yaman accept her to run away. She stay when she accept her to cry and ask her father for help. She fight back. She does not know how to do work, but she does not want to lose in front of him. Their battle becomes a strength dance. He pushes, she resists, and he mocks. She answers. She closes her door. She looks for another way in around them. The farm becomes live character. Areola is not only background, it is the opposite side. In Istanbul, it is fast, loud, and published. Areola is slower, warm, and most honest. In Istanbul, people can hide behind glass offices. In Areola, sign expose everything. The land does not care who is rich. The animal do not care who is famous. The worker do not care who has a family company. The farm asks one question for everyone. What was can do you today? for Doha question is painful. She has spent for her life being praised for who she is, what she does. Now she must face empty hands. She must learn simple things that others already know. She must accept help from people she once might have ignored. Every small failure becomes a mirror, every dirty shoe becomes a lesson, every tried every evening take away a piece of false image she built around herself. Slowly, without noticing, she starts meeting the real Doha beneath to the spoiled one. For Yemen, the farm always also becomes a mirror. He believes he is in a control that Doha presents disturb him. His anger is clear, but his feelings are not. He wants to dislike her. He wants to keep the story simple. She hurt him, so she deserves his coldness. But life does not avoid the story people create to protect themselves. Doha is careless, but she also a brave. She is proud that she is only lonely. She is spoiled, but she is also capable. She of kindness. Every time Yaman sees something human in her, his hatred becomes harder to hold. This conflict grows through small moments, a look that lasts too long, a sentence that hurts more than accepted, a mistake that becomes funny instead of cruel, a moment of danger where insists speak for pride. They are not find friends, not enemies, not lovers, or not strangers. They are something more dangerous to wounded people being forced to each see clearly. The accident near the sea becomes one of most turning point. Doha, angry and overblamed, try to leave. She wants to run back to the world she understands, but her escape turns into danger. Her car loses control and is pulled toward the sea. In that moment, all arrangement become too meaningless. Money cannot save her. Pride cannot save her. Her father's protection cannot reach her fast enough. The only thing between her and death is the man who says he cannot stand her. Yaman save her. This is the kind of moment that changes the meaning of everything. For Yemen, saving Doha is not decision made by love. It is instinct. Humanity may be something deeper that he is not ready to name. He may hate what she represents, but he cannot watch her die. His anger has limit. His conscience is stronger than his revenge. That single act showed that truth he tried to hide. Yemen is not a cruel man. He is a hurt man. For Doha, the recuse becomes confusing because the truth is not immediately clear to her. She does not fully understand who saved her. The other around her complicate the story. Tension. This creates another layer of tension. Yemen remains silent where another man will demand thanks. His silence is not weakness, it is a pain. He does not want to gratitude if she cannot understand the truth on her. He does not want to look like a hero in her eyes. He is still protecting his anger because anger is a wall that keeps his all want for bleeding again. But truth has its own way of rising. Eventually, Doha being to understand that the man she accused, challenged, and misunderstood is the same man who pulled her back from death. This is knowledge shake her. It does not fit with picture she has made of him. If Yaman truly hates her, why would he save her? If he only wants revenge, why did he risk himself for her? If she see her as nothing but spoiled rich girl, why did his hand reach for her when life was about to take her away? That question becomes the emotional center of the story. Why was does Yaman hate to Doha, and if hate to her, why does he keep appearing at that moment when she does not need someone? Doha is used to simple answer. This time there is no simple answer. Yemen's hatred is not pure hatred. She is grief wearing a rumor. It is attraction buried under blame. It is the memory of reunited life standing face to face with person who unknowing started the fall. Elisa's role is also important here. He is not only a rich father sending his daughter to farm, he is man beginning to see the cost of his own love, and he protected Doha from hardship because he wanted her to be happy. But protection without can make a person fragile. When he sees her struggling, part of him wants to save her again, but another knowing that saving her too quickly will destroy the lesson. His heart and mind are in conflict. He wants daughter safe. He also wants her to grow. This makes Helsia more than a side character. He carries the pain of parents who realize love alone is not enough. Sometimes a child needs kindness. Sometimes a child needs boundaries. Sometimes a child needs to fall where the ground is safe enough to survive but hard enough to teach. Halsey's mistake was not loving Doha too much. His mistake was confusing love with protection for every consequence. Might it bring another kind of tension? He belongs to the world plan project admission image. He says a land as opportunity, while Yemen see it as the life where Yemen built with his hand, Mart calculate with advantages. His presence create a pressure around the farm around Doha. He is not only romantic obstacle, he is a symbol of the outside world trying to enter and control the natural world Yemen has built. The fight over land is also a fight over values. Is the farm only property or it is a home? Is nature something to use or something to respect? Is the success about to building higher, about to growing deeper? Doha stands between these worlds without fully understanding either one. Her old life pull her back with comfort. The frame farm pushes her forward with difficulty. Mart offered the familiar languages of status and convention. Yemen offers nothing soft, but his world contains a truth she has never met before. That is why her feelings being too confused here. She is not simple attracted to Yemen, she is disturbed by him because he sees through her. He does not clap for her performance. He does not treat her like a princess. He does not fear her father's name. In his eyes, she is not special until she earned respect. And for the first time, Doha begins to want respect more than attention. The beauty of this story is that love does not arrive like a sudden miracle. It grows through the resistance. It grows anger, mistake, recuse, shame, laughter, and hard work. It grows with Doha being to see the human being behind Yemen's coldness. It grows with Yemen beings to see wounded girl behind Doha pride. They are both wrong about each at first, but they also challenge each other. Early episode, their relationship is built on unfinished sentences. Yemen not too much about the past. Doha not too little. He cry a memory that she has forgotten. She carry a guilt she has not yet to understood. This imbalance create emotional pressure. The viewers wait for truth to come out because every moment between them is shaped by something unsaid. The real drama is not only what happened on farm. The real drama is what will happen when Doha finally understands the full weight of her first meeting with Yemen. When she asks why he hates her, she is not only asking about his angry, she is asking for he looked wrong. Yaman can answer with insult. He can call her spoiled. He can say she know nothing her about struggle. But those are surface answer. The real answer lives in this accident, in his lost future, in the years of pain, in the humiliation that made him walk away, broken before life broke him even more. He hates her because it is easier than admitting she still matters. He hates her because blaming her gave shape to his suffering. He hates her because without anger, he would have to face the emptiness underneath. This is why the little matters. The law of nature is not only about land, sea, animals, and season. It is about emotional truth. Nature does not allow lies to live forever. What is buried will rise. What is weak will be tested. What is fall. What is real will grow even through stone. Yaman and Doha can pretend they are only enemies, but has already placed in the same storm. The more they fight, the more they reveal, the more they deny. Their silence speaks. By the end of this first part of the journey, the story has created all the main questions. Can Doha truly change, or will she run back to comfort with lesson becomes too hard? Can Yaman release the anger that helped him survive, or has anger become the thing that no keeps him trapped? Can Halsey step back long enough for his daughter to become strong? Can the farm survive the pressure for money, debt, and outside admission? And almost opportunity, importantly, when truth of this past is fully is connection between Yaman and Doha, or it will become painful beginning of something real. Law of nature being like a romantic conflict underneath, it is a story about pride, class, family work, and healing. It asks whether people can grow beyond the worst version of themselves. Doha must learn that confidence without responsibility is only noise. Yaman must learn that pain may explain too quickly, but it does not excuse living forever behind angry. Both of them must learn that love is not born from perfection. Sometimes love being with two people see each other at their ugliest and still cannot look away. The first rule of this story is simple. Nature always wins. Not because nature is cruel, but because nature is honest. The soil does not lie. The sea does not filter. The wind does not care about to pride. And when two people are thrown into a world where masks have to no value, they must either change or break. Yaman thinks he brought Doha to farm to punish her. Doha thinks she is staying only to prove everyone wrong. Both but of them are mistaken. The farm is not only testing to Doha, it is testing to Yemen too, because sometimes the person we call her enemy is only person who carry the truth we are almost afraid to face. Something revenge bring us close to want, but love forces us to clean it. Sometimes the law of nature is not survival of the strongest. Sometimes it is survival of the ones brave enough to change, and this is where the real story begins. The morning after Doha, life almost ended in the sea. Everything looked different, but no one wanted to say it. The farm woke up the same way it always did. The sun rose over Urala slowly, touching the tree, the roof, the fences, and the white ground with soft light. Birds moved between branches. Workers started their day before the heat became heavy. The animals waited for food. The wind became from the sea with a quiet smell of salt. To anyone else, it looked like normal morning, but for Doha, world has changed. She had seen death close enough to feel its breath. She had lost control, and for the first time in her life, no money, no family name, and no confident smile had been able to save her. She sat alone for a while, wept in silence. Her body was safe, but her mind was not clean. She remembered the water, the fear, the helpless feeling of being pulled into darkness. She remembered struggling, shouting, and then losing strength. After that, her memory became broken pieces, a hand, a voice, a body pulling her back, a cold shore. Someone breathed near her face, someone's arm crying her way from it. At first, she did not understand clearly who had saved her. People around her spoke, but their word felt her away. Some looked worried, some looked guilty, some looked they are hiding more than were telling. Yaman did not stand near her like a hero. He did not wait for thanks. He did not let anyone turn the moment in a story about his bravery. He moved around them from with the same hard of face as if nothing special had happened, but something had happened. Doha could feel that even when before she knew the truth, there was a strange heaviness in the air between them. Whenever looked at him, he looked away from quickly. Whenever someone mentioned the accident, his jaw tightened. He became angry, but not in the same way as before. His angry now he had fear under it, and that confused her. Doha was used to men who wanted attention after doing something good. She not this type. They helped only when people made them look important. They smiled at right moment, spoke loudly about their kindness and waited for prize. Yemen was not like that. He saved her and then disappeared behind work. That made her more powerful. It also means made it harder for her to understand him. If he truly hated her, why did he risk himself? Why he did only wanted to punish her? Why did he fight against the sea to bring her back? At first she tried to ignore the question. It was easier to be angry with Yaman than to feel confused by him. Angry was simple. Angry gave her something to hold. Sami gave her task again. She answered sharply. When he corrected her, she looked at him as if he had no right to speak. When he told her the farm did not stop because he had been scared, she felt insulted, but deep inside she knew something was different. Every word he said now carried another meaning. Every cold look came to hide something warm that he had refused to show. Yaman noticed her watching him, and this made him even more carefully. He had no wish to become important in Doha eyes. He did not want to gratitude. Gratitude would soften the space between them, and he was not ready for softness. For years, he had trained himself to see her as the reason his life turned to dark. Now, because of one recuse, the story inside him was becoming unstable. He had hated for her from distance. That was easy. But hating someone after holding their weak body in your arms, but after hearing them come back to life, after seeing her in their eyes, was not easy. Pain becomes harder to protect when the person beside you start looking human. Yemen told himself he had done what anyone would do. He told himself saving her did not change anything. A person could recuse an enemy, he still remain enemy. He repeated his thought many times, but his heart did not listen. His heart remembered the moment differently. It remembered the panic that hit him when he saw her in danger. It remembered the way his body moved before his mind could decide. It remembered fear, not hate, and it scared him more than he wanted to admit. Though her first real lesson on the farm came not from Yemen's word but from her own tried hands. She had imagined farm work as something simple, dirty, sometime people without choice did every day. But after a short time, she understood that simple work was not easy to work. It demanded patience, it demanded attention, it demanded humility. If she was careless, something broke. If she was late, animals suffered. If she was acted proud, the land ignored her pride completely. One task followed another. She had to carry crates, wash vegetables, help with feeding, clean areas she did not even want to look at, and listen instruction from people she had once considered beneath her social world. At the start, she made almost everything harder than it needed to be. She held tools wrong. She complained about smell. She stepped in mud with expensive shoe with then listened blamed around ground. She tried to give order before she know the work. The firm worked watched her with quiet assessment. Some laughed openly, others shook their heads. Watch Yemen watched too, but this laughter was colder and accepted her to fail. In fact, a part of him wanted her to fail. Every mistake she made confirmed the image had kept of her for years, spoiled, empty, weak. All style, no strength, but Doha surprised him in a small way. She failed, yes, but she did not always leave. She shouted, but she returned. She then away a glove in angry, then picked it back up. She said could do something, then it did badly, then tried again just to avoid this victory smile. Pride can be foolish, but it can also become fuel. Though her pride pushed her back into fight each time shame tried to push her to out. One afternoon, Yemen ordered helper to in a greenhouse. The air inside was hot and heavy. Sweat came quickly. The row of plants came endless. Doha entered like a person entering the person. She tried to hide her discomfort, but her face betrayed her. Yaman explained the work in a dry voice, giving short instruction. She was paused her separate damaged leaves, check the soil, help collect produce carefully. She listened with half an ear because she was more focused on not looking weak. That was her first mistake. Within minutes, she handled the plant too roughly. Jamin stopped her hand before she reunited more. Her fingers closed around her wrist, not hard but firm enough to make her look at him for the second. Neither spoke. Greenhouse hits came to grow stronger. Doha felt the touch more than she wanted to. Yaman noticed and released her quickly. Then he spoke in a usual cold tone, telling her that living things were not to accessory, could not to be treated like bags or shoe. The sentence hurt her more than it should have. She pulled her wrist back and answered that he knew nothing about her. He looked at her and said he knew enough. She asked what that moment meant. They turned away without explaining. This Yemen way dropped pieces of truth like stones, then walked away before she could pick pick up them. Each time he did not this, Doha became more determined to understand him. She began asking questions, not always directly. She listened when workers spoke about Yemen. She watched how they treated him. They respected him not because he was easy, but because he worked. He was harder than anyone. He did not ask others to do what he would not himself. He knew every part of the frame. He could fix a machine, claim an animal, argue with supplier, carry heavy load and still notice when one tree needed care. He was not kind of man who gave speeches about responsibility. He lived it. This distribute the heart because it made him difficult to dismiss. If he had been only rude, she could hate him easily. But he was rude, irresponsible, cold and brave, harsh and honest. He confused her because he did not fit into any box. She wanted to call him cruel, but cruel men do not save people from drawing. She wanted to call him argument, but argument men not to kneel in Saul and work with her own hands. She wanted to say he was unfair, but sometimes unfairness sounded too close to the truth. Meanwhile, the people around from began to notice the changing air between them. They still fought, but the fight were no longer to empty noise. There was attention beneath the angry now. When Doha entered a place, Yemen knew before turning around. When Yemen spoke to someone else, Doha heard his voice even from a distance. Their eyes found each other without permission. They both pretended not to care. Everyone saw this, only they thought they were hiding it. Doha father Elsie received report from the farm, but reports could not show him to the whole truth. He heard that his daughter was struggling. He heard that she was angry. He heard that she wanted to leave, then stayed. This gave him both pain and hope. A father never enjoys seeing his child suffer even when the suffering is needed. Elsie sat in his office many times, thinking of calling her background. He could end the lesson from one order. He could send a car, bring her home, and left from comfortable again. But each time he came close and he stopped himself. He knew Doha needed this. He needed to discover the world outside her protected circle. She needed to understand that respect was not inherited, it was earned. She needed to learn that mistakes were not always to cleaned up and someone else loved Elsie her enough to miss her, and for the first time he was trying to love her enough to not recuse her too soon. But Elsie had his own secrets and pressure. His business world has not to claim. As it looked behind smooth meetings and polite smiles, there were deals, depth reveals, and all choices that could return like unpaid bills. The land in Urala was not only a farm, it was valuable. Many people saw, many were Yemen saw road. Some wanted to build, sell, divided, and profit. The farm duty made it attractive, its location made it dangerous in a place where nature still breathed. Rich men could already imagine to concentrate. Merit was one of those who understood to opportunity quickly. He knew how to speak languages of modern success. He knew how to look sincere while hiding calculation. Around Doha, he could be charming, helpful, and patient. He offered to comfort without looking weak. He spoke of dreams in a way she understood: city life, business, travel, good taste, social status. He did not smell of soul and hard work. He smelled of perfume, office room, plants made on expensive tables. To Doha old self, merit made be sense. He belonged to the world she knew. He did not ask her to become someone else. He did not challenge her pride the way Yemen did. He made things easy, and easy things are dangerous when a person tried. After a hard day at the farm, Merritt's voice could feel like rest. His attention could feel like proof that she was still to Doha. She had always been, but comfort is not always love. Sometimes comfort is only to corridor to that show face we are afraid to lose. Yemen did not trust to merit. He saw too much polish, too much cleverness, too little truth. When merit came to the farm, Yemen's mood changed immediately. His shoulder tightened, his eyes became sharper. He watched every word, every smile, every movement. Doha noticed this and excused him from jealousy before she even believed it herself. Yemen answered that he was not too jealousy of men who hide behind clean shoes. Doha laughed at him, but the laugh did not sound too steady. Their argument after to merit visit became one of the strongest moments between them. Doha told Yemen he had not tried to judge her friends. Yemen told her she did not know the difference between a friend and a man who wanted to use her world for own plans. Doha called it bitter. Yemen called her blind. She said he thought everyone with money was bad. He said she thought everyone without money was angry for no reason. Both spoke too harshly because both touched the other word. Then Doha said the sentence made the air stop. She asked, "What did I ever to do you?" Yemen froze. The answer stood between them, huge and silent. His face changed for only a second, but Doha saw it. Pain moved through his eyes like a lightning behind a cloud. He almost spoke. He almost told her about the day in Istanbul, the interview, the insult, the accident, the years of blame. But he stopped. He swallowed the truth like a pigeon and turned away. That silence became louder than any answer. Doha watched him leave and felt something heavy settle inside her. For the first time, she understood that his anger had a history. It was not just about her attitude at the farm, it was not just because she was rich. There was something older, something personal, something she had done or something he believed she had done. She searched her memory, but nothing clear came there frightened her. What kind of person forget a moment that someone else cannot to escape? That night Doha could not sleep. The farm was quiet in a way she was used to in the city. There was always sound to traffic, phones, music, voices, movement. Silence in city was rare. On the farm silence had layered insect, the dark wind against wood, a distant animal moving leaves touch each other. The world felt alive even when people slept. Doha sat near the window and looked outside. For the first time, she did not think of Paris. She thought of Yemen's face when she asked what she had done to him. Memory is strength. It hides things until emotion pull them out. She began to remember small pieces from years ago, a building, an interview day, her father's company, a young man waiting. Did she speak to him? Did she laugh? Did she say something careless? The memory was not complete. She had been younger then, more careless, more proud. She had moved through that world without thinking of who our word could hurt. Faces had passed before her like background images, but now one face began to return serious eyes, a quiet man holding papers, a moment of irritation, a sharp comment, then nothing. Doha pressed her hand against her head as if she could force the memory to become clear. Shame being to before certain she did not here to know everything, but She knew enough to feel afraid. Maybe Yaman's heart was not born for nothing. Maybe she had planted it without even knowing. This idea scared her more than is angry. It is easier to fight someone when you believe you are innocent. It is harder when your unforgotten truths start knocking at the door. The next day, Doha was different, not soft, not to complete change, but quieter. She still made mistakes, but she listened more. She still answered back, but not every time. She watched Yaman with more attention. Yaman noticed and restricted it. He asked what if she tried of performing. She said maybe she was trying to being treated like a criminal without knowing the crime. He looked at her, then said, some people do not remember the damage they cause because they leave before seeing the result. The words hit their mark. Doha wanted to answer, but no answer came. Yaman walked away again. This time she did not shout after him. Work continuously. The farm had not interested emotional drama. There were two deliveries in prepare, account to check, animals to care for, and heavier to schedule to follow. But beneath the daily routine, danger was growing. The farm financially problems and deeper than Doha first realized. Some payments were late and some equipment needed repair. Buyers were difficult. The cost of running an organic farm was high. Profit did not arrive as fast as problem. Yemens carried this warrior quietly, but this quiet did not make them smaller. Doha discovered of this by accident when she saw paper on desk. She did not understand every number, but she understood enough to know the farm was under pressure. Her first instinct was to offer money. That was how to problem was were solved in her problem. But before she could speak, she imagined to Yemen's face. If she did, he would see it is an insult, not help. He would think she was trying to respect again. For once, Doha stopped before acting. Instead of throwing money at the problem, she began to thinking. This was new of air. She asked question carefully. She spoke to wonder worker. She studied what farm produced, who bought it, what made it special, where it was weak. She had grown up around to business when even if she had never taken it seriously, she knew about to presentation, branding, people attention. The farm had quality, but its story was not being to hold told well. Yemen no soil production and discipline. Doha no image, audience and desires. For the first time, the difference between them could become useful instead of restrictive. When she suggested changes, Yemen rejected them almost immediately. He said the farm was not a fashion brand. She said that was exactly the problem. He had something real but did not know how to show it. Excused her, turning nature into a decoration. She excused him for hiding good work behind stubborn pride. Their fight grew loud to enough for others to hear, but this time the argument had purpose. It was not only to personal, it was about to farm future. Doha proposed a small open day for a local barrier, families and food lover, not a rich party, not a fake event, but a chance for people to see the farm, taste the product, and understand what made it different. Yaman hated the idea and he imagined two strangers stepping over his land, taking pictures, asking foolish questions, and treating the farm like entertainment. Doha told him people protect what they understand, but they want to trust it. If he wanted the farm to survive without selling its soul, he had to let people see its soul. That sentence stayed with him. He did not admit it, but it stayed. Yaman had spent years protecting the farm from the world. Maybe he had protected it too well. A closed gate keeps danger out, but it can also keep to spot away. He still did not trust to Doha methods, but he could not to deny that she had seen something he missed. This made him angry in a different way. He did not want to need anything for her, not help, not ideas, not understanding. Still, the farm needed the solution, so Yemen agreed, but in the coldest way possible. He said she could try, but if she made the farm look ridiculous, she would clean every corner alone for a week. Doha accepted with proud smile and said if he event worked he would have to admit she was useful. Answer that to miracles happen in nature but not too often. That the preparation changed to rhythm of the farm. Doha came alive in a way. She was tried to dirty and still learning, but planning gave her energy. She arranged to smell sign, simple sign, cleaned spaces, help organize testing tables, and tried to make the farm look welcome without making it too fake. She fought Yaman about every detail. She wanted beauty, he wanted to function, she wanted warmth, he wanted to order. She wanted music. He said God were ready to noisy enough. Despite the fighting, something started to form between them. Teamwork. It was rough, unwilling, and full of sharp looks, but it was teamwork. Yemen know where things should go. Doha know how two people would move through space. Yemen made sure nothing interfered with work. Doha made sure the event had feeling. He kept the farm honest. She made it visible on the day of open farm event. Doha woke before sunrise. This surprised everyone, including herself. She stood outside with sleepy eyes and determined energy, giving instruction before even drinking coffee. Her hair was tied back badly. Her clothes were simple. There was a small mark of dirty on her cheek that was not told her about. When Yaman saw her stop for a second, she looked different, not to less beautiful but more real. The old Doha had always looked prepared for a camera. This Doha looked prepared for work. He wanted to make a joke, but he did not. Something in him softened. He hated to that people being to arriving later in a morning, somewhere local, somewhere small restaurant owner, somewhere to families with children. Some came only because they had heard about to LC daughter being punished on a farm. Gossip always travels faster than truth. Doha know that. He used it. If people came for gossip, they would leave with basket stories and maybe respect. She moved through the crowd with surprising skill. She smiled, explained, listened, and made people feel connected to place. She did not know every technical detail, so she called worker by name and let them speak. That mattered. For once she was trying to be center of everything. She was making space for others. Yemen watched from distance, pretending to check supplies, and saw the worker enjoying the respect from visitor. He saw children learning where food came from. He saw buyers asking serious questions. He saw people testing the produce and precising its quality. He saw the farm become alive in a new way, not as a show but as a story. And in the middle at it also to Doha. She was not perfect. She still exaggerated at times. She still used to a gesture. She still almost knocked over the basket while trying to look graceful. But she was trying, not to pretending, trying. This was the part of Yemen could not to ignore. The event almost fall apart when suppliers problem caused a missing delivery of jar needed to packed product. Doha panicked for a moment, for then forced herself to think that old Doha would have shouted from someone else to fix it. This Doha gripped her phone, called to contact, asked questions to local shops, and even borrowed jar from neighborly homes and restaurants. She turned the problem into charming detail, telling visitors the farm believed in reuse and community. Yemen looked at her if she had did not whether to annoyed or impressed. By evening the event had succeeded, not in a huge magical way, but in a real way. Orders were placed, people left happy, the farm and attention workers felt proud. Yemen could not to deny it. Doha stood near the empty tables, executed but glowing. Her feel hurt, her back hurt, her hands were sore, but she had done something useful. The feeling was new, it was different. Buying something beautiful, receiving prize at the party. This pride came from the effort. It felt heavier and cleaner. Yemen walked up to her. She waited from the criticism. She because her criticism usually came faster than thanks. He looked at Farm, then at her, and said only, "You did not run everything." For Yemen, this is was almost complaint. Doha understood that. She smiled, but softly not, with her usual vectress attitude. She said, "From you, I think that means I did well." He did not answer, but he did not deny it whether to either. That night the workers celebrated. Simple food was placed on long table. Someone brought music. People laughed more loudly than a music usual. The farm, usually ruled by early morning and tried evening, allowed itself from one breath of joy. Doha sat among the workers, not above them. At first she seemed unsure, then she relaxed. She listened to story, then she laughed honestly. She learned names they should have learned earlier. Than people who once smoked her being to see another side of her. Yemen watched from ages, as often did. He was party of the farm, feeling separate when feelings became too open. Doha noticed him standing alone and walked over with a plate of food. He told her was not too angry. She said that it was impossible because even angry men needed to dinner. He almost smiled, almost. She handed him the plate anyway.
Instead of leaving, Yemen surprised both of them by speaking. He said some people work not because they are happy, but because stopping would force them to remember. His voice was low. Doga did not move. She understood that he had offered her a small truth, and if she pushed too hard, he would close again. So she also said, "That sound lonely." Yemen looked at her. For once there was no sharp answer ready. The word lonely had found him too easily. He turned his eyes away and said loneliness was better than depending on people who live damage behind. Doga heard that is, she wanted to ask if she met her, but she already knew the answer. Later, when the celebration ended and most people want to sleep, Doga walked alone through the quiet farm. She reached the greenhouse and stood outside. The plants inside the looked shadow, understand the moon. She thought about how living things needed care before they show growth. Maybe people were the same baby. She may had been watered with too much comfort and not enough truth. Maybe Yemen had been left in the sun too long without kindness. Maybe that she was why both of them had grown in stranger direction. Yemen found her there. He had come to check the greenhouse. Or maybe that was the excuse he gave himself. He asked what she was doing. She said that she was thinking. He said that sounded dangerous. She did not laugh. Instead, she asked him again, but gently. This time, "What did I do to you?" Yemen's face hardened. The night became still. These questions had returned, and this time is carried less pride and more fear. He could have walked away. She usually did, but something about her voice was different. She was not asking to win an argument. She was asking because she was ready to hear pain. She looked at her for a long moment. Then he said, "You really do not remember." It was not a question, it was a judgment, but also a sorrow. Doga wished that she remembered pieces, a company, and interview. A young man, maybe words she should not have said. She looked Ashman before the answer. Yaman's anger rose, but beneath it was sometime life real. He told her that for her it was only a day, for him it because the beginning for everything he lost. Then he stopped. He did not tell the full story. Not yet the wound was open, but he was not ready to show it despite parts. Still, this was more than he had ever said before. Doga felt the weight of it her eyes filled not with demonic trees, but with the quiet shock of someone realizing they may have been cruelly and careless in a way she never paid for. She said she was sorry, but the word felt too small. Yaman's made to think the same. They looked at her and said sorry was easy when memory returned late. Then he walked away. Doga said their hurt and shake, but this time she did not feel like the victim of his anger. She felt like someone standing at the edge of the truth. She deserved to face her apology. That note helped him. It had not even reached him, but something had changed because now she was no longer because it was the next morning. Doga did not something Yama did not accept. She did not act wounded because he rejected her apologize. She did not call her father. She did not run to Mert for comfort. She worked quietly, seriously, without performance. She made mistakes correctly, them and continued. She did not look for praise. This stirs Yaman more than any agreement could have. She knew how to fight this polite Doga. He did not know how to fight this one. As they passed, Doga began to carry guilt like a hidden stone in her pocket. It was always there pressing into her throat. She wanted to remember fully. She wanted to understand what happened after that interview. She wanted to know how much to Yaman's pain truly belonged to her actions. But no one gave her the whole answer. Yaman refused. Hollis avoided some question, other knew only pieces. So Doga started searching in her own way. She contacted all company staff. She looked through the old records. She asked about interview day for a year ago. First, people gave vague answer. Then one older employee remember Yemen clearly. A bright young man, strong application. A stranger instead. A bad day, then an accident soon after. The detail came slowly, but each one cut deeper. Doga realized that the life Yaman had now was not the life he had once been reaching for. Something had been taken for him, and her careless behavior had been part of the change. The important truth was not that Doga caused every bad thing that happened. Life is more complex than that. Accidents have many causes. Pain has many hands, but she had been one of those hands. Her organs had pushed him into humility. Her word had dismissed him, and after that fate had been merciless. She could not carry all the blame, but she also could not wash her hands clean. This is where Doga's real change began. Before, she wanted to prove she was stronger because she hated being judged. Now she wanted to become better because she had seen the damage of being careless. The different method, pride say, I will show them. Grow says, I will change myself. Doga was slowly moved from the first to the second. Yama seized piece of this change, but did not root them. The truth does not grow quickly in soil poisoned by old pain. He looked for signs that she would not return to her old ways. Sometimes she did. She'd still complained. She'd still act proud when hurt. She still when used scary as protection, but now she also caused herself. He apologized faster, he listened longer. She noticed other more. These were small changes, but small changes are how real change begins. The relationship entered a dangerous middle place. They were no longer simple enemies, but they were for some pieces. Doga knew she had hurt him. Yamas knew she was returning. Neither knew what to do word that the knowledge anger had given them clear roles. Without it, they had to face uncriminality, and uncertainty can be more frightening than hate. One evening, a storm came over Arla. The sky darkened eerily. Wind moved fast through the trees. Work rushed to rescue lost things around the farm. A section of fencing near the animals had weakened, and Yama went out to fix it before the storm grew worse. Doga saw he live and flowed. Desperate began told to stay inside. The shot at her to go back. She should that he needed help. Rain started falling, hard turning and ground slippery. They worked together in the storm angrily and soaked. Yama knew what do you but the wind made everything difficult. Doga was not strong enough for some tasks, but she held what needed holding past his tools and refused to leave. At one point she slipped badly. Yama caught her before she fell for a second. The storm disappeared. They were too close. Rain ran down their faces. The breathing was heavy. His hand held her arm. Her eyes stretched. The words made to ask a question. Neither wanted to answer. Then a loud sound from the fences broke the movement. They pulled apart. A return to work. After they refused the area and came back inside, both were shivering. The works brought towels the hoti. Doga's hand shook around the cup. Yamas noticed but said nothing. Later, when no one was watching, he placed a dry jacket near her without a word. She looked at it, then at him. He had already turned away. The gesture was small, but to Doga it felt larger than any apology. Yama's care always arised excuses as anyone's. That night, Doga realized something she did not want to admit. She no longer wanted Yama's respect only because he had judged her. They wanted to it because it mattered to her. His opinion had become important not because he was powerful in the way her old world understand power, but because he said the truth. If Yaman one day looked at her and believed she had changed, maybe she could believe it too. Yaman, on the other hand, began to fear the opposite. He feared that Doga's opinion was also beginning to matter to him. When she worked hard, he felt proud before stopping himself. She was hurt, he noticed too quickly. When mud appeared near her, eyes rose before reasons. When she laughed with the works, he listened. When she was absent, the form smit regularly, quickly. There were dangerous signs. There were signs of attachment. He tried to fight them, becoming colder again. The next day, he satisfied her work for more sharply than needed. Doga noticed immediately. She asked why he was pushed her for helping during the storm. He said helping once did not making her a farmer. She said saving someone one did not make him heartless herder. The sentence struck him hard. This told her not to speak about things she did not understand. She answered that she was trying to understand, but he did not use this pen like a lock gate. For a moment, Yaman looked truly angry. Then he said, some gates are locked because the what is behind them is already dead. Doga repelled quietly. Then why does not it still hurt? He had no answer. Was the problem. This Doga now before her word were careless. Now sometimes they were too acted. She was learning where his anger lived, and that made them feel opposite. He had spent years building himself as a man. No one could touch Doga. The person he blamed for breaking him was become the person who could not reach him. The second part of the story closes with both of them standing in emotional danger. Doga has begun to see her past honestly. Yaman has begun to feel his future changing without permission. The form which was supposed to punish Doga has started to teach her. The woman who arrived without complaint and expansion dream now wakes, already works hard and carries guilt with Juris, the man who wanted to revenge, now finds himself protecting, watching, and caring when he should be turning away. But peace is still far. The metal planes are not finished. Holly's secrets are not fully open. The farm's financial pressure is still present, and the truth between Yaman and Doga has only partly been spoken. A half truth can be more dangerous than a lie because it makes the heart imagine the rest. Doga now she hurt Yaman's because, but she does not yet know the full depth of what he lost. Yaman knows Doga is changing, but he does not yet know whether change can repair what memory has damaged. In nature, storms do not end just because rain stops. After the storm, branches remain broken, soil remains flawed, weak storms are exposed, but storms also clean the air. They show which trees can bend without falling. They show which walls were never strong. For Yaman and Doga, the first storm has passed, but the real test is only beginning because the hardest thing is not meeting an enemy. The hardest thing is discovering that the enemy has a heart. The hardest thing is not saying sorry. The hardest thing is becoming someone who will never repeat the same harm. The hardest thing is not surviving pain. The hardest thing is letting pain stop controlling the future. And when the fame is Erla under the honest sky, Yemen and Doga are learning that the law of nature is simple but never gentle. Whatever is planted will grow. If you plant pride, you harvest loneliness. If you plant cruelty, you harvest ridges. If you plant courage when in broken soil, sometime new may begin. Section 3 of 6 Truth begin to speak. There are truths that arrive, the thunder, loud and sudden, break the sky open in one violent moment, but there are also truths that arrive slowly, step by step, like water enter through a crack in a wall. At first, no one noticed. Then one day, the whole wall is wet and ready to fall. From Doga, the truth about Yemen did not come all at once. It came in pieces. A half-remembered face, a company hallway, a young man standing with paper in his hand, a cruel sentence spoken without care, a silence after it, a life that changes directed. Each piece was small, but together they began to form a picture she could not longer avoid. Doga had always believed that the past stayed behind if a person did not look back. In her old life, yesterday was something to escape from with a new dress, a new plan, a new city, or a new dream. If one project failed, she started another. If one mistake caused trouble, her father fixed it. If one person has hurt, she often moved on before the hurt came visible, but the form did not let people run so easily. The farm has slowed. The day were long. Silence was white, and inside that silence, memory became louder. After this storm, Doga moved through the farm without a stranger quietness. He still worked his and still orders. When Yama pushed too hard, he still make mistake and still become angry when he corrected her as if he were a child, but something had shifted inside her. She no longer fought only to win something. He fought because she was afraid of what she was learning. Something she became sharp because guilt was too heavy to carry openly. Something she laughed too loudly because she did not want anyone to see that her mind was somewhere else. Yemen noticed everything. He had always watched her, even when he told himself he did not care in the beginning. He watched her to judge her, then he watched her to protect the farm from her mistake. Now he watched her because he could not stop. He saw when her smile weakened. He saw when she paused after hearing his name. He saw when he looked at all of his records on her phones and quietly logged and screened the screen if he came near. He knew she was searching. Part of when want to stop her, another part wanted her to know. That was a tribal thing about pain. It wanted to hide, but it also wanted to witness. For air. Yaman had lived with the belief that Doga had forgotten him because his pain meant nothing to her. Now she was beginning to remember, and instead of feeling relief, he felt danger. If she remembered only enough to feel sorry for him, would had that if she remembered everything, she won't have to face the truth for months beside. Maybe she had been cruelly, maybe she had been careless, but maybe she had not been only cause of his fall. Yaman had built his anger in a straight road. Doga did not this. His file life broken me, but real life is not straight road. It is a field full of hidden roads. One stop can lead to another, but blame is rarely clean. Doga's search led her back to Istanbul without leaving Arla. She called people from her father's company, asked old assistants, and looked through her archivement messages. At first, everyone answered political, but vaguely the maid did not want to discuss the past. People who work around power learn to forget what powerful families prefer not to remember. But Doga did not stop. For the first time, she was not using her name to get confirmed. She was using it to uncover something painful. An older employee finally spoke more openly. She remembered the interview day. She remembered that Yaman and arrived early. He had begun nervous but prepared. He had presented himself with dignity. His will had been strong. Some people had seen promised him, but her had been an accident before the interview could move forward. Doga had entered the area upset about something else, already anger, already careless with the people around her. Had she mistaken Yam's quiet confidence for ignorance? He had spoken in front of others as if he were worried and important, as if his dream were too small for her attention. Maybe should had not mean to destroy him, but words do not need a life intention to become weapons. Doga listened to the woman's voice on the phone and felt her stomach dignity. Some she asked what happened next. The woman became quiet. Then she said Yaman left the building typically 6 later that day. There was accident. No inside the company, not caused by one clearly person, but after the humility burning. He had been injured badly enough to lose the path he had prepared for. The old employees did not know our detail, but she remembered the sadness around it. She remembered her Lucy became angry that the matter had not been handled better. She remembered people being told not to speak too much. She remembered that Yaman disappeared for their word. After the call ended, Doga sat with the phone in her hand for a long time. The room around her seemed too small. She had wanted truth, but truth does not always arrive with comfort. She had wanted to know why Yaman hated her. Now she knew enough to understand his anger, but not enough to defend herself. That was the worst part. There was no easy defense. She could say she was young. She could say she did not know. She could say she never wanted him hurt. Also of that may be true, but none of it erased the fact that her carelessness and entered some else's life like fire. When evening she have say Yaman's And now with the strong area checking supplies alone, the sun was going down and the warm light made the dust in the area look golden. He was writing numbers in a notebook, focused, serious, closed off. Doga walked toward in slowly. She had planned word, but she reached him all the word lost sharp. Yams did not look up at first. He knew she was there. She could feel her before he saw her. He continued writing and said, "If this is about tomorrow delivery, speak to Cam." Doga answered, "It is not about the delivery." His hand stopped to half a second, then he closed the notebook. "Then I am busy." She did not leave. "I spoke to someone from a company." The silence between them became hard. Yaman turned slowly. His face gave nothing away, but his eyes changed. "Which company?" She did not accept the escape. "My father company, the palace where you have came for an interview." Yaman looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, but it was not a kind smile. So the princess finally opened the old file. Doga lowered her eyes. "I am not asking you to forgive me, good," he said, "because I am not offered that." The word hurt, but they accepted the pain. She desired at least some of it. I only want to say I remember enough now to know I was cruelly." Yaman laughed quickly enough now that it is beautiful sentence. Year later enough arrived. Doga eyes filled, but she did not cry. The new trees could not like another from the escape, and she did not want to escape. "I could not change that day." Now he had said you could not. They cannot change what happened after. "No," he said again. "You cannot, but I can stop pretending I did nothing." That answer reached somewhere. Yaman did not want open. They looked away for years. He had imagined that movement in many forms. Some things he imagined Doga laughing, something he imagined her Dene, everything, something he imagined the apologizing, while still not understanding. He had never imagined her standing quickly, accept blame without trying to make herself the victim. It spared his because it did not fire the person for her he had kept alive. He wanted to say something that would wound her. He wanted to protect himself with cruelty, but he could not find the right sharpness, so she said the simple truth. "You broken something in me before the accepting every happened, Doga." "Shalot, I know. You do not know," he said, voice low. "You remember a few minutes I lived here after those minutes." She looked at him. "Then tell me." Yaman's face turned again. "Why? So you can carry guilt for the 3 days and then return to Paris." The mention of Paris struck her strangely. There was a time when Paris had been center of the dream. Now hearing it forced him. It sounded far away and chivalrous. It did not know if "I am going to Paris anymore." Yaman started to her. He had not accepted that. "Do not change your plans because of guilt." "I am not," she said softly. "Maybe I am changing because I am finally seeing myself." He turned away because that scene was too honest. Doga stopped there a moment longer, then left him without in silence. She did not demand forgiveness. She did not ask what he felt. She did not force him to accept her apology. The resistance mattered. Yaman did not want it to matter, but it did. The next days because heavy in a new way. The truth between them was no longer fully hidden, but it was not fully held. It moved around them like a tired person. When they worked together, they were more careful. When they argued, The old anger returned, but now it had sadness under it. Doga no longer threw careless insults. Yaman no longer attacked every weakness. They were still rough with each other, but pain had made them more ever. The farm open day had brought attention, and attention brought both hope and danger. Order increased, local resistance wanted fresh produce. A small organic market asked for regular supply. Families who visit positive about the farm online, and suddenly people who had never heard for a palace want to become Doga should have felt proud, and she did not, but with success came pressure. The farm did not have unlimited work production had limits. Yemen refused to expand too quickly because he did not want to damage quietly. Doga saw opportunity and wanted to move faster. Their order conflict return in business from she say grow, she say risk. One morning they agreed in front of the packing area. Doga said the farm needed better delivery planning and more visibility. Yaman said visibility meant nothing if they promised more than they could produce. She said was afraid of success, she said, was adding the attention the words can out sharp and both regular them quickly. Comes one of the words, clearly his throw from neighborly, and said, maybe you are both right and both impossible. Doga turned to him. Yaman turned to for a moment about looking offended. Them again, her will. Doga laughed. A second later, Yaman almost smiled. The tension broken, came vault away visit before either of them could answer. That small moment mattered because it showed how their fights were changing. Before every fight ended them its distance. Now sometimes they ended with a pause, a breath, or a recollected understanding. They were learning each other language. Doga learned that when Yaman became harsh, fear often stood behind it. Yaman learned that when Doga pushed forever, it was not always vanity. Sometimes it was belief, sometimes it was courage, some her imagination saw doors where his pain saw walls. But outside, the farm people were moving pieces on a larger board. Mer did not like when the Doga was supposed to head farm like a fill quickly and turn to the word where he knew how to get hurt. Instead, she was cleaning. She was spinning along beside Yaman. She was learning, changing, was spending long day beside Yam's slowly problems and earning respect from a people who had once laughed at her. Worst of all, she looked alive in a way Mert had not seen before, not polished, not perfect alive. Mert understand the Doga's connection to the farm could become a problem for these plans. The land had value, and value attracts the people who speak softly while holding knives behind their backs. The development project near the coast was gaining attention. Investors wanted access. A clean, beautiful organic farm could not become part of a larger vision if the owner could be pressured. Confidence of weekend Mark knew Yemen would never sell easily, but farm understand financial pressure can be pushed. People understand emotional pressure can be tricked. So Mert Megan with concert he visited Doga and accepted dental. He brought coffee from a place she used to like. She wore the face of someone who understand her old worth and respected her new effort. He told her she looked tired. She said the farm was too hard to her. She said Yaman was using her guilt to keep her understand he controlled. He did not attack Yaman openly at first. He planted double carefully. Doga listened, but she did not react as they accepted in a past. She would have enjoyed begin projecting. She would have accepting concert as proof of value. Now concert then tried her as weak a reality. Her she to admit that hard work was not the same as punishment. She smiled and said, I always also provide. She said everyone was always worried when she started becoming useful. This sentence surprised even her. Mert smiled. Dignity useful to whom, Doga? To a man who blames you for his life. She looked away. That struck a real place. Mert said it and continued softly. Guilt can feel like love when you are confident. Doga looked back at him and confirmed can feel like care when someone went to control. For a moment, Mert had no answer. He had understanding. Heard the old Doga might not have noticed. He mentored. Hidoga was beginning to hear the meaning beside words. She did not know all the mad plans, but she succeeded. Calculation, understand she softness that made her useless. Yaman Mert leaving and did not his distress when he came near Doga. He asked what Mert wanted. Doga answered that when every man who spoken to her needed Yaman's permission, Yaman said he did not care who spoke to her. She raised an eyebrow. You careful enough to ask. He looked away. I care about the farm. She stepped closer. Only the farm. The question hung between them. Yaman could have answered cloudly. She could have said yes. They could have told her not imagine importance, but her lie did not come quickly enough. Doga noticed the delay. It was small, but it was there. Yaman finally said, do not playing games with me. Her voice softness, I am trying for game. He looked at her, then really looked for 1 second. The whole space between them became fragile. She was standing close, right from work, hair loose around her face, eyes full of thinking. Neither of them dared names. She remembered the first day he saw her at the company, polished and careless. He remembered hating her. Then he saw the woman in front of him, now marking by soil, guilt, effort, and courage. The two images did not match. That was problem. He did not know which one of the believe. Before anything more could happen, one of the work called Yemen from across the yams. The delivery truck had arrived with a problem. The movement broke. Yemen stepped back. First, Doga watched him leave. Nothing that something had almost been said without words. The delivery became turned out of the word and that expanded. Some of the produce prepared for a returnant order had been damaged during packing because of the broken cooling unit. Yamas because furious, but his anger was mostly fair. This order was important. If they lost it, they might lose more than money. They might lose trust. Yoga jumped into action. She called the residents, explained honestly, often a smaller but higher quietly replacement order. They invite the chef to visit the farm personally to choose fresh items. Yaman thought she was taking too much risk, but the chef arrived. When the chef arrived, Doga did not pretend the mistake had not happened. She apologizing clearly and showing him the farm's standards. Yaman walked beside them, silent but watchful. Doga let Yaman speak about the produce, the soil, the harvest time, and the careful beside each stop crop. She did not carry to how the movement she gave it to him. The chef was impressed to not buy the farm by not they honestly the order was reduced but the relationship was saved. After the chef left, Yemen stopped beside the Doga near the empty craters. He did not look at her when they spoken. You handled that well. Doga froze slightly. A real compliment for a Yemen was rare than the rain in a closed room. She tried to keep her voice light. Be carefully if you compliment me twins, nature be lost balance. They looked at her, and this time he did not smile. It was brief, almost unwilling, but it was real. Doga saw it and felt something inside her open. That smile followed her all day. Yaman regulated it immediately and knew he had given too much. A smile was not to promise, but between them, even a smile could become dangerous. He tried to become distant again, but distance was getting harder to maintain. Doga and entered the daily life of the farm too deeply. Her voice was in the morning discussion, her ideas were in the order plans, her laughter was near the workers' table, her mistakes were parts of the routine. Her presence had become woven into the place. Removing her from his mind would now be like pulling a root from soil without disturbing everything around it. The more Doga changed, the more Yaman had a face his own refused the change. He had judged her for living inside protection, but he had built him on protection. From anger, he had accused her for hiding behind veils, but he had hidden behind pain. He had told her that nature punished false things, but he had been false. With himself, he wanted justice, but something he also wanted to keep suffering because suffering had become families. Without anger, who was he without blaming Doga? What would he do not without with all the years he lost? Yes, question followed him into a field on evening. They walked alone between the row after everyone finished work. The sky was red and gold. The air smiled of warm soil. He touched one of the plants, gently checked its strength. He knew how to read land better than they knew how to read his own heart. Plants are honest if they were trusty, and showed it if they were sick. Signs appeared if he root. But strong grow games people were headed. People hide storms behind eyes. Doga found him there. She did not call his name at the first. She simply walked beside the row, keeping some distance. He knew she was there but did not tell her to leave. After a while, she said, I used to think quiet places were empty. Yaman answered, they are also empty for people how do not listen. You nodded. I am learning that. He looked at her hands. They had small, stretched now. The nails were no longer perfect. Her skin carried style for work. Her should have felt satisfied. Instead, he felt tensed, and tenderness frightened her more than anger. Doga continued. I found out about that day. He bodies tendency spoken carefully. I know, I heard, I know. After you left, the accident happened. I know your life changed. I also know I was brave enough. Began them you see anyone outside beheld humans voice was rough. Were also telling me this because I do not want you think I am forgetting again. I long at her. The sentence cut through him for her. The dispute until he but began the forgetting now. She was promised from memory. It did not fix anything, but it touched the wound in a way apology had not. Doggy stopped closer, but not too close. I cannot give you back one too lost, but I can stop being the person who walked away. Yaman's eyes moved over their face. He wanted to tell her she had to lie. He wanted to say that some depend cannot be paid, but he said no promise in fair experiences. She was not expecting to be freed from guilt. She was asking to understand it weight. She looked away and said, you could not build a life around my pain. She answered, and you should not build your life around hating me. He turned back sharply. You think it was that easy now? She said, I think it is hard. That it's a why have not done it, the honestly of her answer silenced him. She was not mocking him, she was challenging him. For victory, she was naming the truth, and because it was true, it hurt. Before he could answer, Thurder could not form away. Both looked about. Another storm was coming, but this was slower, still gathered itself beyond the hills. Doga said they should be come. Yaman nodded. They walked side by side, not touching, but closer than before. The night Tulsi arrived at the farm unexpectedly. This car came through the gate after sunset, bringing without it the smell of the Istanbul money and old authority. Doga was safe him from the yard and ran to him with surprise. For a moment she was only a daughter, happy to see her father. Halsey hugged her tightly, and his face looked humused. He had missed her. He looked over her shoulder and saw the farm clothes, the tired face, the strong eyes, pride and sadness mixed inside him. Yaman watched from a distance, seeing Halsey responsible another part of the past. Halsey had not directly humiliated him, but they belonged to the word here. It happened. It was the father who had raised Doga, the man who power he had filled the building, the man who could have changed things if he had known enough or acted snore. Yaman respected him in some way, but respected still live here. Halsey asked to speak with Yaman privately. Doga looked between them, worried. Yaman arrived, and they walked to a quiet part of the farm. For a while, Halsey looked at the land without speaking. Then he said, "You build something stronger." Yaman answered, "Strengthening is necessary when life does not leave other choice." Halsey expect the hidden meaning. "I know you blame us." Yaman's voice staying calm. "Do not blame yourself." Halsey sighed. The question was fair, and fair questions are often the hardest, more than you know. Yaman looked at them. "They you know, listen, that I lied." Halsey nodded slowly. "Yes, that it is true." The answer surprised Yaman. He had accepted the defense. Power usually protects itself with excuse, but Halsey looked older tonight, less like a rich businessman, more like a father crying dirties, and he looked Yaman that when they learned what had happened year ago, he had tried to help from a distance, but pride, anger, and legal fears and completed everything he attempted. He had also protected Doga from the full truth. At the time he saw saving the her from a guilt. She was too young to cry. Now he said that he had also kept her from responsibility. Yaman listened when a hard face, but inside him the straight line of blame bent again. Halsey had not been innocent, but he had not been simple either. He was a flamer father, not only a powerful man. He had made only choice out of love and fear, and those choices had caused damage. Life was forcing Yemen to see complexity when anger perfects simplicity. Unless that said something that staying with him. I spent her to learn life. I did not know life would bring her back to know. Maybe that is punishment, maybe it mercy. I cannot tell anymore. Yemen did not answer. He could not. When Halsey left the farm later that night, Doga stood near the gate and watched his care disappear. She felt the old pull of home, but it was weaker now. Her father had offered to take her back if she wanted. He did not say it directly, but they understood. She could still leave. She could still return to comfort. She could still escape this hard place, this painful truth. This man who looked at her like both wound and cured. Yaman came to stand a few steps beside her. You can go, he said. She did not turn. I know, no, I will force you to stay. I know, then why are you still here? Doga turned. Then her face was calm, but her eyes were bright. Because for the first time living would feel like loosely myself. Yaman had no answer. The word entered him quietly. He looked at her at the night's mid to hold its breath. For that point, he emotionally distanced between them became tender that they still did not name what was growing. Naming it could make it too real. The Yaman stopped giving Doga the worst task only to he still